Very good morning to each and every one of you.
Good morning.
I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all of you here, especially for the leaders, the congregation here in Ipoh, for giving me this opportunity to speak to you today. Maybe a bit of introduction of myself for those of you who do not know me. My name is Khoo Tze Wei. I am from the congregation Klang. That's why I also bring greetings from the church that is in Klang. The elders and the deacons there greet all of you, and we know of the good works that you do here, and we implore and encourage you to continue doing the work for the Lord. Today I want to share a lesson that I think is particularly important for the members of the Lord's Church to know. I know initially I was being asked to preach a lesson on unity, and after giving it some thought, I thought that this lesson of power of one might be one that is closer to my heart. So I have to apologize in advance for not wanting to preach on unity, because I think that this is a very important lesson for us all to know. Simply because we are few in number, generally the members of the Lord's Church are always the minority, and we are always against the majority. Even Jesus himself says that in Matthew chapter 7 and verse 13 and 14. Even Jesus says, "Enter by the narrow gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the way that leads to destruction, and there are many who go in by it. Because narrow is the gate, and difficult is the way that leads to life, and there are few who find it." So as Christians, we know that there are few of us, there are few people that are going to be able to find this way that leads to life. And being few means being the minority. And if you have gone to the beach and to the sea before, and if you try to swim against the current, you know that that is something very difficult to do. When the current and the majority is against you and you try to swim against it, it is something that is a bit difficult to do. Nevertheless, because God is on our side, this is something that we can achieve, and we are able to achieve. Hence, the power of one. The power of one individual, the power of one unit, the power of one team, the power of one congregation to be able to do great things for God. For nothing restrains the Lord from saving by many or by few. In 1 Samuel chapter 14 and verse 6. So we know that even if we are few in number, that's not a factor to God. Or whether we are great in numbers, neither is that a factor to God. For it is not the power of ourselves to save, but it is the power of God who saves. And that's why I think this lesson is very important, particularly to us. If we were to think about the key takeouts that we want to get from today, what are the few lessons that we want to learn? Number one is that one individual or one unit, one team, one congregation is able to bring about much good or much evil, even if it's just one person. And with God on our side, even one Christian or one congregation is capable of accomplishing a lot of things for God, for Him. And the third thing, it's a personal question to each and every one of us, is that whether we are willing as individuals and as a personal choice to do great things for God. So we'll start off with this. In 1972, at the 139th meeting of the American Association of the Advancement of Science, a professor by the name of Edward N. Lorenz, he was a professor of meteorology, that is to do with weather patterns. This professor was presenting a paper, and he titled this paper as such: "Does the flap of a butterfly's wings in Brazil set off a tornado in Texas?" So if you have a butterfly that flaps its wings, can it ultimately cause a tornado in Texas, which is in the United States? So we know that Brazil and Texas are very far apart. So is it possible that one butterfly flapping its wings thousands of miles away is able to cause a tornado in Texas? There's a lot published on this paper, but eventually there came this very popular, or a more layman way of saying this effect, and they called it the butterfly effect. Essentially, what the butterfly effect is that even if you have a slight change in conditions, it can ultimately result in a very large effect. If you think about a dice, okay, a dice of course has 6 sides, numbers 1 to 6, but when you throw it, almost never you can throw it in the same fashion. Whether you hold it this way, or you tilt it, or you angle it, or you have the number 1 on top or 2, there is literally zero possibility that you can throw it in an identical fashion twice or more. So it is virtually impossible to throw it that way, and that's why the effect is always different. So that is an easy way of explaining what the butterfly effect is, that small changes can lead and result to very, very large impacts. If you think of the patterns or the trajectory of the Lorentz equation, okay, let's not go too much into this, but you can see that it's not very clear here, but you can see that the patterns look a little bit like a butterfly, the wings of a butterfly. And if you notice the starting point, it's about the same. This is the starting point, and this is the ending point. The cones represent the start and the end point. So the end point for the blue line is here, whereas the end point for the yellow line is here. So it's different. And we see that, hey, how come they start at a similar point? But actually it's not. What this shows is actually there's actually a difference between the blue and the yellow line. The difference is only by 0.00001 on the x coordinate. Okay. That just means initially there's just a very slight difference, but ultimately it resulted in a very different effect. And if you look at this bottom, it's not very clear here, but if you look at the straight line, a straight line basically means there's no difference between the blue and the yellow line. So there is no difference initially, no difference, but after that there's suddenly a very big difference, even though initially the points just differed by 0.00001. That slight difference initially caused a very large difference towards the end. Now the point I want to bring out of this butterfly effect is that small initial changes can magnify to very large impacts. Very large impacts. That's point number 1 that I want to make. And then I'm going to ask you the next question. What is the difference? Let's assume that these 2 stick figures are people. What is the difference, or is there a difference between these 2 individuals? Okay. Well, if you look visually, of course there's no difference because I copied and pasted, so of course there's not going to be a difference. But let's say these represent twins. Okay. I know we have a set of twins. One of our members here has a set of twins. Maybe even more. I think Ipoh has quite a lot of twins in its history, more than any congregation. So we know twins are probably the closest 2 individuals ever that can be. They are born to the same family, so they are raised in a very similar background. If they are identical twins, then they look alike. You know, the DNA is very similar. Everything. You know, I think you probably cannot get a closer set of same people unless you clone someone. So twins are like almost identical. But I tell you a true story about a set of twins that even though they were same, but the choices that they made caused a very, very huge difference in their lives. Okay? So this set of twins, they were born to a rich man. Actually, they were born to a rich man who was a faithful servant of God. This rich man was a faithful servant of God. So they're brought up in the same kind of culture, the same family background, same set of parents. But at the end of the day, one of the brother, okay, these twins are 2 brothers. Okay, one of the brother wanted to kill the other brother. So the brother who was like the victim, eventually had to run away from his home. But this brother ended up serving God very faithfully and became very successful, even though the other brother wanted to kill him. So you can see how different their lives turned out, and actually it's all because of the choices that they made. And actually this pair of twins, all of you know them as well. They're actually Jacob and Esau. We know how their lives turned out. We know Jacob being Israel, was the father of the nation of Israel. We know that Esau, in the end, he was rejected by God. Even as Romans chapter 9 verse 13 says that, and it is written, Jacob I have loved, but Esau I have hated. God is saying that Jacob I have loved, but Esau I have hated. So the choices that these people made all the difference in their lives, in the outcomes. Similarly, in Joshua chapter 24 verse 15, it says, choose for yourself this day. Joshua is speaking to the people of Israel, and he asked the people to choose for themselves this day whom they will serve. Okay, whether it's the gods which their fathers served, or it is the God of the Amorites in the land which the Israelites were dwelling. But as for me and my household, that is for Joshua and his household, they have decided that they will serve the Lord. So there are going to be choices that we have to make. Whether or not we start off at the same starting point, choices that we make will determine our end point or the result, and it can be very, very different. So we have established two things: that we know small and initial changes are able to magnify into very large impacts, and that these small changes that we make, it's up to us, that we are able to make these choices, and we have the power to make these choices. I'm going to bring to you one example of Gideon. In Judges, which was read to us in our hearing, the account is in Judges chapter 6, 7, and 8. There's 3 chapters, so we're not going to go through all 3. I'll just try to summarize the story. But the story of Gideon, I think many of us are familiar, is that how a very small number of individuals are able to defeat a large enemy, and a very fearsome enemy, just with God on their side. And also we'll talk maybe about some other characters like Elijah, like Jonathan, friend of David. These individuals as well have accomplished a lot, even though they were few in number, but yet because God was on their side, they were able to accomplish many, many great things. So for Gideon, it was read in our hearing earlier, the situation that the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord, so God delivered them in the hand of Midian for 7 years. And Israel was greatly impoverished because of the Midianites, and the children of Israel cried out to the Lord. So we know what happened subsequently, where God commanded Gideon to rise up and to lead the people of Israel to victory, to defeat the Midianites. And we know that Gideon was hesitant initially, and he asked for signs from God, saying that, okay, if it is true what you're saying, show me some signs. So that happened, and eventually we know how Gideon mastered all the soldiers of Israel, and then God said, no, there's too many, let's cut some, let's reduce the number, lest the children of Israel say, it is by my power, it is by Israel's power that we have defeated the enemy. So God didn't want them to say that, because if you have, Israel started off with about 32,000 soldiers. So if with 32,000 soldiers they defeated the Midianites, God is concerned, and he said that, what if the people say, we had 32,000, that's why it is by our own strength, the strength of the Israelites, that we are able to defeat the enemy. So that is the reason why God says, no, there's too many, let's reduce, and in the end we know that it was reduced to just 300 people. And we know that what happened after that they eventually defeated the Midianites just with 300 men. So, Gideon's reaction when God first approached him, he was hesitant. He told the angel that came to him, and he said that, oh my Lord, how can I save Israel? Indeed, my clan is the weakest in Manasseh, and I am the least in my father's house. A lot of us have this similar slight lack of confidence, maybe a slight inferiority complex. We always say, how can I do it? I'm just one person, and if you look at my family history, I mean, my nenek moyang, all my ancestors have never achieved anything great. So how can I, when I'm such a weak person? Even Gideon, mighty man of valor, had the same approach when he was initially approached. And he thought, how can I do this? How am I able to do this on my own? But eventually, we know the point is that it is not the individual strength that determines success or failure, but rather it's the reliance on God, and God is able to save, whether by you as one individual, by you as the congregation, or by many. The enemy that Israel is facing is a very large and fearsome enemy. In Judges 7 verse 12, it says that the Midianites and Amalekites, all the people of the east were lying in the valley as numerous as locusts, and their camels were without number, and as the sand by the seashore in multitude. So that's how many there were. So I was thinking of trying to estimate at least about how many there were. So in Judges chapter 8 and verse 10, Zebah and Zalmunna, okay, these were kings of Midian, the kings of Midian. This was after they were being defeated. So you have their armies which were left about 15,000, and then it says that previously about 120,000 men had already died. So you get about 135,000 soldiers. So that is the approximate, that is what I know at least that the Bible reveals the number of the enemy to be. There might be more, but what has been said in Judges chapter 8 verse 10 is that there are about 135. So being up against a very large enemy, God can still save even by a few people. Because God told Gideon, by 300 men I will save you. Okay? With that I will save you and deliver the Midianites into your hands. Let all the other people go, every man to his place. So the other 30,000 soldiers that Israel had, they were told to, just go home. Just go home. You don't have to fight. You only need 300. 300 against 135,000. Do you know what that is like in visual terms? Let's visualize that, okay? Imagine this is the army of Israel. Let's say one stick figure represents 300 men, okay? So initially, okay, you can read this account from Judges chapter 7 verse 1 to 8, how the number were being reduced. Let's say this is the army of Israel. They had about 32,000. And God said to Gideon told those soldiers, if you are afraid to fight, go home. If you are afraid to fight, just go home. 22,000 of them left. Okay? So there's about 10,000 people left. And then the next step is to go to the river to drink. And God says that whoever drinks the water by bringing it to his mouth, those can go home, but those who got down on their knees to drink, they will stay. And how many were left? Well, we know there was 300. So let's say one stick figure represents 300 men. And if you think about how the Midianites had 135,000 people, so what is that representation? It is one person, it's about one person against 450 men. If you think of the odds, if you go into battle with this kind of odds, you're never going to win. You're never going to win. It is impossible that one person can go up against so many soldiers. One soldier can go against so many. It's just not possible. It is only possible when God is on their side. This kind of ratio, 1 to about 450, is similar also to another account that we read. It's very similar to that of Elijah. In 1 Kings chapter 18, the whole account, the whole chapter, it talks about how Elijah went up against the prophets of Baal. One Elijah versus 450 prophets of Baal. And who was victorious in the end? We know that it was Elijah. When the prophets of Baal called Baal to bring fire down onto the offering, nothing happened. Nothing happened. And Elijah even mocked them, like, is your God asleep? Or maybe he is awake. Why not you shout louder so that your God can wake up and he can bring fire to your offering? 450 of them, and yet they did nothing. They achieved nothing. Whereas Elijah, just one person, just one man. When he called on God to show his power, God brought fire we know eventually all these prophets were executed by the Israelites and by Elijah. Jonathan and his armor bearer, the account in 1 Samuel chapter 13 and 14, talks about how Jonathan, the son of King Saul, when they were up against the Philistines, how they were they were losing, they were on the losing end. And Jonathan told his armor bearer, okay, let's go up, just two of us, let's go up against the Philistines and see what we can do. If God delivers them into our hands, then he will deliver us. And we know eventually from the account as well, just Jonathan and his armor bearer, two persons, they managed to slaughter a lot of the Philistines, and in the end, a lot of the Israelites came, and then they fought together and they won the battle. So, just a few of these examples, whether it's of Gideon, whether it's of Elijah, whether it's of Jonathan and his armor bearer, we know God saves whether by many or by few, and much more relatable for us because we understand and we know that we are fewer in number. Generally, the Church of Christ, we know when we look around the congregations, if we compare ourselves to denominations, we tend to have less numbers compared to them. We know that the world is very big, it's a very populous place, 7 billion people in the world. What can we do as just individuals here, sitting here equal? Honestly, without God, we are not able to do anything. The key point here is that with God on our side, we are able to bring much good and at a very large magnitude. But on the flip side of it, we know that we can accomplish much good with God on our side. But at the same time, we know that even just a few individuals or one individual is able also to bring a lot of damage and a lot of harm to a lot of people. I mean, we read in the history books how certain individuals can influence nations to be corrupted and a lot of genocide. I mean, people like Hitler or people like Stalin or Mao Zedong, we know that these leaders, just one person, cause, whether directly or indirectly, the death of millions and millions and millions of people. So even just one individual or a few individuals can bring about much harm. The application and implication for us as individuals is also that we, as much as we are capable of doing a lot of good with God on our side, we are also capable of bringing harm to people if we are not careful. So it is for us to decide whether or not in our lives we want to bring good change for the better, or through our actions and words and deeds we bring harm to each other. That is for us to decide. In the Bible it talks about how a little leaven can leaven the whole lump. In 1 Corinthians chapter 5 verse 6 7 it says, "Your glory is not good. Do you not know that a little leaven leavens the whole lump? Therefore purge out the old leaven, that you may be a new lump, since you truly are unleavened." So your bread, if you put in a little leaven, it makes the entire piece of dough rise. That little bit of leaven, are we like that little bit of leaven as well? Galatians chapter 5 verse 7 to 10, it says, "You ran well, who hindered you from obeying the truth? This persuasion does not come from him who calls you. A little leaven leavens the whole lump." So are we like that? So our lives, it can be on extreme ends, but which end are we on? Which end do we want to become? Whether it's to bring good and to do good for God and to achieve great things for God, or whether our lives are going to be like that little leaven that leavens the whole lump and brings about much harm and much damage. This is how the percentage of religions in Malaysia. You will have about 20% for Buddhists, about 6% for Hindus, other religions here, about 61% Muslims, and Bible-based groups, denominational groups here. And do you see that little red dot over there? That little red dot here? That's for us. this is for facts, okay? Not the red dot, but I mean these are actual facts of the population, the religion, number of population who practice different religions in Malaysia. These are facts, and I'm just estimating the size of us, as in the churches of Christ in Malaysia. Just off the top of my head, I'll just calculate how many is that, and what does it look like if you compare to the entire population. That's us, that one tiny dot there. So we know that we are very few in number. But we also know that we can achieve great things. Romans chapter 8 and verse 31 says, what shall we say to these things? If God is for us, then who can be against us? So the encouragement for you today is that we know that one person can bring a lot of good, one person can bring a lot of harm, can bring a lot of evil. But with God on our side, even just one person, one congregation is capable of accomplishing a lot of great things for Him. So the question for yourselves as individuals, the question for yourselves as an entire congregation, as a team together. Yes, we are small in numbers as compared to the world. The world is huge. But with God on our side, we can achieve great things. So what are the great things that you yourself personally want to achieve for God? And what is the vision for the congregation here in Ipoh that you want to achieve great things for God as well? Yes, we are few in number, but with God on our side, who can be against us? The invitation is open for you. If you're subject to this invitation, if you are a Christian who has gone astray and you want to come back to God, if your heart has not been right to God and you want to rededicate your life and to achieve great things for God, the invitation is open for you. If you are not a Christian today and you've been studying about how to become one and you wish to respond now, you may do so as well. Whatever your needs may be, when you come forward, even as we stand and sing the song of invitation. Stood from your brother's faith as he struggled along life's road. Have you loved him because some real love won and shared with someone his saving good? Oh, the things we may do, you and I, oh, the love we can give if we try. Just a word or a song as we're passing along. It will come in the great by and by. Have you spoken a word full of hope and cheer? Have you walked with us over the way?